Hello, I'm Chris Athanas. I'm a KMP developer. Tech Sport's coming out Tuesday. I'm going to close that thing up finally. Today I'm going to be doing a review of. I don't need that. I'm going to be doing a review. I'm going to be doing a review of Verbal Combat. This from Debate University, from this online personality named Andrew Wilson. That's Andrew. And the reason I'm doing this is going to be like a kind of a predecessor or a thing you got to look at and kind of know about if you're going to be doing adventure-driven development. So, like, and even if you're going to be in business and just doing software development and want to be able to stand up for yourself, you gotta know about this stuff. You don't have to like get into all the details of it and all the crap. You don't have to get all to little specifics to be a professional debater. Everybody I've ever talked to, like, oh, you want to do professional debating with time sequence? No, it's blood sport debating. I mean, it's just like in person, live, on the spot. This is mostly what we're going to be doing if we're going to be doing knowledge work. Okay, is this debating stuff? So you have to be able to defend your position and realize some of these logical fallacies and different types of rhetorical twists that people will use to try and get their point across. And if you don't know about them or don't understand what's happening, you're going to get trampled on, right? So that's the reason why I'm doing this review. This course is expensive. It was $500. But for the value I've gotten out of it, I kind of knew about 80% of this stuff just by watching Andrew and and just being involved with just being in tech industry and trying to like defend my position on stuff. Like I picked up bits and pieces of it, but this is the first course I've seen that doesn't take this academic like, oh, you're gonna be a timed sequence of things. No, this is like blood sport level of like in person, like one-on-one, doing talking. When you're just checking a point, somebody's gonna come and dog you out. And if they're open to like, if they're going to be good faith debaters, it's easy to find that if somebody is going to be good faith debating, whether they're going to be actually listening to get to some goal, or are they just trying to take you down, right? If they're just doing it at homiletics, it's good to know what people are doing so you can identify who's actually going to be on your side and can be not convinced, but like understand that we're trying to get this other thing versus this ad hominem attack, which is like trying to defend and keep their position in the hierarchy without substance behind it. So that's a lot of these social games are played, and in business, it's going to be a part of the thing where you have to a lot of sales. I've got to say, like sales is just meeting someone's problems, trying to eke out what their sticking points are, and if you can do a matchup there, if not, maybe help them out some other way. I don't know. That's a good. I've worked with salespeople who actually do work this way, and it's actually makes sales kind of fun and interesting that you're trying to get to the problem solved. And if there's a place where you can do business together, that's great. But if not, I'm going to try and put you in a different positive direction, not just hang up the phone and screw that. And you're like, oh, it's a whole thing, right? So it's an approach to life. So I'm just going to give an intro, let Andrew talk about what the course is and where it came from. And I kind of picked him up on just some YouTube. I think he was on the Whatever podcast once or twice. I hate that show. But when he's on there, it's super fun because he shows you how to engage these tactics, and it's blood sport. These girls don't care. They don't care less who this person is. They'll say whatever right to his face, the most ugliest shit. And it's good to know, like, okay, when someone gets ugly, when do you push back? And it's, oh, you're getting ugly with me? Oh, okay, we're going to get ugly now. Okay, we're doing ugliness. So we're not going after this goal to the truth or trying to get to some understanding of things. You want to go blood sports? So, okay, we're going to do that. So let's listen to it.
Hey, I'm Andrew Wilson, host of The Crucible. It is the fastest growing debate channel on YouTube, at least to my knowledge. I've hosted and participated in thousands of debates across the internet, private, public. I've participated in massive panels, all the way down to one-on-ones. I've debated with some of the top pros in the world, and I've debated with people with very little experience. You could say across the board, I have a lot of experience when it comes to moderating, hosting, and participating in debates. The purpose of this course is because so many people, a huge amount in fact, reach out often because they want to learn these skills for themselves. So I wanted to put something together, something really good, so that I could show you these skills. Just like we do with all of our merchandise and everything else, I wanted to make sure that this was top quality and it was really top tier content. I made sure we had good production value, and we made sure we brought some experts in to assist in explaining some of the more complex parts of debate. One such expert who's participating in this module, his name is David Patrick Harry. You can find him at the Church of the Eternal Logos on YouTube. He's participated in hundreds of debates. He also is working on his doctorate. He's primarily focused on philosophy and religion, but he does do in a limited way political debate, so that's generally my domain. I also brought in Chase Haggard. He is the head moderator and essentially runs the Orthodox Discord server. He's participated in thousands of debates. It's almost a kind of nightly routine for him, as many people have various questions about religion, and he tends to tangle up with many, many people. Again, done it both at the high-end professional level, all the way down to perhaps what you would consider the layman level. So we all have a lot of experience in this field, and I wanted to bring them in to make sure that we could give you the best possible overview and the best possible information so that we could assist you in learning the art of debate and verbal combat. And I hope you really enjoy this course.
Okay, so it's broken up into these little sections here, like what what is this course about? Parts of debate, and the pieces that I got the most benefit out of was this logical fallacy, this particular one, continuum, which I'm going to play for you, at least part of it, and make sure it's going to play fast enough. And I am not Christian. I am this other thing that's Christian adjacent, so I cannot interpret like what they're talking about, what they're saying with my own thing that I'm into, which is compatible, 100% compatible. But it's like I'm not into this a lot of this religious justification stuff about where God said this thing. It's like I don't see it that way. It's this other thing that's going on. But it is compatible because the path, there are different paths. And so the path that these guys are on, I'm totally like vibing with. And so that's something you should be aware of. And he could be a little snarky. Andrew's pretty snarky, but the best debaters are, because they know some techniques. And some of the techniques he's using are something called rhetoric. So a lot of people get mired in the grammar, right, with the written, how actually each word is. But there's a whole this other thing, which he's really good at, which is the rhetoric, which is how you say it, the way you say it. And he can get into people's skulls, like get underneath their skin, because he hits them in these areas they maybe haven't examined before. And it's useful to see his techniques, because and how he will meet people where they're at, right? He'll meet people where they're at. If you want to be a smart ass, like be a smart ass. You want to get down to the nitty gritty, we get down to the nitty gritty. You want to get call each other names, we can do that too. You want that's pointless, but a lot of stuff is not for the other person to convince them, but to convince the audience of other people who are in the room listening to this conversation. So let's listen to what he has to say about this continuum logical fallacy. He gets all the main ones, and he also says you don't have to memorize these things. Just like be aware that they're around, and you kind of like pick up on, hey, wait a second. What do you do? Wait, what? And then you'll be able to pick some of these apart. There's so many constant. There's like only a few different ways people are going to be bolstering or trying to get you off the topic or to convince you. There's only going to be certain things they're going to keep doing over and over and over and over. So once you kind of see these, they've given these names, and Gish Gallop is probably the one that's used most online. People just over talking each other, keep talking, and like, hey, whoa, wait. And he has a good strategy on how to deal with them, and I'll let you get the course to find that out, because if he talks about it on his shows, and if you watch him long enough, it becomes obvious how to do it. But I'm not going to reveal that one. But this is kind of the level of this particular continuum, is the kind of level of like it's nuance that he brings to the table, and this course is, I think, worth it. I'm happy with it. Like, it's definitely rounded out my edges, and be able to watch him do this stuff live, and like on that whatever podcast when he's on, or when he's on these debate channels, it's you can see these techniques being used. Now sometimes I don't fully agree with everything he's into, but the way he backs it up and talks to people and tries to meet them where they're at is pretty cool.
The continuum fallacy. This is one of my favorites. Very few people really understand this or use it in a debate, even though it's so common. The continuum fallacy is talking about a delineation or a continuum, and if you can't spot the continuation of a thing, then this means that they're the same thing and not different things. So what do I mean by that? Right? That's a mouthful, right? Let's take man and woman. You and I can definitely agree. Those are different things. Males and females are different things. They're a different category altogether. They are not the same thing. But now let's try to figure out why they're not. It's actually much more difficult than you think. Women have breasts, men don't. Yeah, some men have breasts, right? Women have eyes, men have eyes. Women have lips, men have lips, right? Men have facial hair, women can have facial hair. Men have armpit hair, women can have armpit hair, right? Oh, what about reproduction? When it comes to reproduction, women can have babies. Not all women can have babies. Oh, but wait, what about a penis or a vagina? There's medical conditions which are legitimate where you can be a female who's born with a penis. There are medical conditions which are legitimate where you're a male who can be born with a vagina, right? And because of that, right, we can never make the pure distinction between the two. Where does one end and one begin? Women have nipples, men have nipples, right? Where does one end and one begin? The truth is, though, is that you don't actually have to know the exact delineation point of when one thing becomes another in order for you to make the distinct category that they are not the same thing. You can do this same thing in the traits of cats and dogs. Dogs bark, some cats bark. I've heard it. Some cats bark.
I've heard it.
Cats meow, some dogs meow. I've heard it.
I've heard that
Cats
too.
have fur. Well, dogs have fur. Dogs have tails. Well, cats have tails. Well, cats can climb trees. Some dogs can climb trees, right?
That's
Anything
true.
that you say,
Sure.
you can essentially map onto the other thing, and therefore say, well, there's no distinction between the two that we can make, right? Unless you can give me the delineation point or where the continuum is, where this thing becomes this thing. That is a fallacious argument. That is the entire transgender argument, by the way, just so you know. The whole thing is one ginormous continuum fallacy. Can you give me a delineation between a man and a woman? Even though they're distinct categories, they'll kind of pretend that they're not and utilize, and because very few people know that this fallacy even exists, or that's fallacious argumentation, it's really easy to fall into this trap of going, maybe I don't know. Or maybe I do need to look up exactly this distinct one thing that makes them different, a chromosome or this or that. But you don't have to do that. It's not necessary, right? Here's a really easy example that you can use to hit them back, right? We have a star in our solar system called the sun, right? All stars are not suns. However, all suns are stars. We can definitely make this category distinction, right, between a sun and a star, but they are all stars, right? But the continuum fallacy would be to say, well, then they're all only stars. Nope, there can be stars and suns. So that would be a good way to hit them back with, wait a second, you're utilizing this fallacy, okay? Same thing when it comes to men and women. You just distinctly say, are you saying that these are the same category? And if they are, if there's no distinction, then why do we even use male and female at all?
Yeah.
Clearly there must be a distinction. So that's the continuum fallacy. That's an easy one to get bogged down on, and make sure that when you spot it, you point it out. That one, by the way, makes them look really fucking stupid because a lot of people bank their argument on that fallacy.
So that's an example, a common one people are falling into, and because it's been noticed by some of the people who understand how to use that tactic, it can be applied in lots of different ways and lots of different times. So that's the level of like, oh yeah, okay, I know when people have done that to me. I know when they're talking in that direction. And you can say, oh, I see what you're doing there. Okay, well, yeah, that's not a thing. We can there's two categories there, and we can separate those things out. And there's a reason why there's two categories and not just the same thing. Why? Okay. So, and here's another one of the people that's in this, and this is also something that's happens quite a bit in tech, and everyone should be aware of it. And it's a lot of midwittery who have gone to these conferences. And you didn't get to go, but they went to go, and they got these words, and they're really good at verbally because it's the midwits that in charge of stuff get good at these words, but they don't really know what they mean because that's your job.
It's Chase. Again, I'm back, hanging out in your computer screen, in your phone screen. I'm not leaving. I'm stuck here. Literally a virus. But I wanted to talk to you today about pseudo-intellectuals. You know who they are. You've seen 1,000 of them. There's a couple marks I wanted to talk about that they always have, habits that they always have, and how to deal with them. A extreme indicator of a pseudo-intellectual is someone who speaks to sound intelligent, not speaks to be understood. An example of this could be someone saying, well, I'm a phenomenal conservativist. You don't know what phenomenal conservatism is? And they'll say that as an attempted rhetorical attack on you, saying, look at this idiot. He doesn't know what this niche, retarded philosophical system is.
Right, so it's like a hidden ad hominem attack, which is another logical fallacy wrapped up in like, oh, you don't know how like out of touch are you? Do you have the internet? Do you have electricity over there? It's like that level of stuff.
A great way to deal with that is just saying, no, I don't know what that word means. I'm good with concepts. Can you let me know what the concept is? However you want to say it,
Yeah.
It's fine and a good rhetorical move to say, no, I don't know what that means. What does it mean? You'll instantly see that they are a little flustered that you weren't razzle-dazzled and thrown off foot by not knowing a term. Now, I want to caveat this by saying, if someone is utilizing a system and they don't know a term or they don't know a classic refutation of that system or classic school of that system or where it came from, that is a rhetorical loss. For example, Andrew had a habit for a while of asking people that were empiricists what the scientific method is, and they couldn't answer. That's hilarious. That's a horrible loss because they're appealing to this thing that they don't even know what it means. That is a rhetorical loss. But again, when one of these pseudo-intellectuals start using big terminology, not things like epistemology or ontology, and if someone doesn't know that, don't insult them for it. Unless, again, they're appealing to these things, not knowing what they mean. But if someone doesn't know a term, you can just, it's a good rhetorical move to just say, oh, well, it just means this. It's just a word that means this. It just means being. Or epistemology is the study of how we know something and what's our method of knowing. It's a good rhetorical move. But a pseudo-intellectual will say these terms, front load as many 3, 4, 5 syllable words as they can to appear smart without actually trying to speak to be understood. There's numerous ways of calling this out. You can say things like, hey, I don't know these terms. Can you speak in more layman's terms? That's not a rhetorical loss. If anything, it shows the audience that you're trying to engage with your opponent's actual position, which brings me to another habit and strong indicator that you're dealing with a pseudo, is that they will always try to obfuscate, try to cloud up what they're actually saying and never get to any substance.
Right. Yeah. So that's the other thing too. Like people that a lot they use these terms, and if you can just kind of sense they're like don't understand what these things are, or just using it as a cover word for something else. Man, if you can be sly about this and be slick, it's one thing. But if people are just trying to, I didn't say I was going to use the Gish Gallop. I think I'm gonna talk about the Gish Gallop because it's just so often these terms are used, and then they use Gish Galloping to then work like jump over it, and then you're left to figure it all out. And it's like, wait a second, what? No, it's like, so this is very common in the tech industry, and it's very annoying.
This, along with speaking to sound intelligent, is something that is not going to serve you. And if you know how to call this out and engage it in the right way, you can have a total rhetorical win and, of course, win the actual argument. Now, the pseudo-intellectual will also try to cite certain authorities, not knowing that if that's their only evidence of what's true is citing someone like a doctor or something like that, that doesn't make it true. They will try to say, well, you haven't read this? Well, all of these studies say. Slowing them down and walking through these positions and showing why they are refuted and dealing with their foundations and using bucketing of what bucket their worldview fits into is a great way to deal with this. But again, a pseudo-intellectual can easily be disarmed, and you can pull people from their flock, pull people from their audience by simply saying, hey, I don't know what that term means. What does it mean? And
he mentioned the word bucketing. That just means that there's only so many modes that people fall into, and it's very rare. And then there's the other category of other people, like very, very rare. But most people fall into some category that meets a bell curve distribution. They're going to be one of these categories, and I really haven't gone further than that. And if you can find out which one they are, you can see there's only so many paths of argumentation that are going to be used from that particular bucket. So that's what he's talking about there.
And then understanding the concept, and through this course, you're learning how to do your verbal jujitsu to be able to deal with those concepts, refuting it, being as simple as possible, even with complex ideas, which is something I deal with all the time with being in the religious debate realm. Speaking in a way to be understood, not to just seem intelligent, is always going to serve you. And a pseudo-intellectual will always fall. They will always also cannibalize the people around them that support them, that have their back. And they are only there to serve themselves, serve their own image, and watch anime porn.
Right. So that's what so we talk about the salespeople who are just they learn the buzzwords and they're trying to make the sale. That's kind of stuff. And the people do this at all levels, right? So engineers, our job is to challenge these things because we're gonna be the ones like pulling this stuff together, and it takes guts to challenge these people who have the money and you're working for them and they hired you, right? So then you should just go along and do what they say, right? It's like, no, that's not how it works. I mean, it has worked that way, and if you work at a company like that, it sucks, right? It sucks because there's no flexibility, and these people don't actually know what they're doing. And they go down wrong paths a lot, and they're completely unchallenged because it's our job to challenge them and to be in an environment and make it okay to do that because we're trying to get to the truth. And they start doing this thing like they're cannibalizing the people that agree with them and stuff. Like if they start doing that without justifying it by putting up resistance and saying, hey, what exactly do you mean here? Like if that can't be it's just a disaster. So that's pseudo-intellectualism. And okay, Gish Gallop. Okay, this will be the last one. I'm 19 minutes in. And this one is very common as well, where people will, based on one assumption, string a whole bunch of assumptions that none of them are actually true, but they're talking so quickly and they're talking so rapidly over and like not stopping. And his technique is pretty good. So I'm gonna play this last one. And honestly, there's just so much stuff in this course that's just amazing. Like that is super helpful for going into. It's about 6 hours worth of material. I watched it 2x because I got ADD and I gotta listen to stuff rapidly. But I already knew most of it, But there's a couple of these nuggets, and these are the nuggets I'm pulling out that I think are just really well done and well presented, and are totally worth the course because there's so much stuff like this in the course that will make you a better engineer?
The Gish Gallop. So you're going to run into this in debates a lot. A Gish Gallop is an attempt to make so many points. And you usually see this with, I'll give you two really quick examples of where you will see it. But what a Gish Gallop is, specifically, is when you're shotgunning so many points at the opponent that they couldn't possibly respond to them all. It's not possible to do. That's the Gish Gallop. That's all it is. Or you present so much data that's so overwhelming, no reasonable person could ever be expected to give rebuttals to each point. Okay, that's a Gish Gallop. And it's really, really common in debates, especially from midwits and pseudo-intellectuals. The reason that they use that particular fallacy is because they want to look really smart without having to defend the claims into.
I'd say like 80% of PowerPoint presentations are just pure Gish Gallop.
So they just want to move from this to this to this to this to this as fast as possible. That's Gish Gallop. Okay, that's what.
So Gish is the name of a guy who, back in the day when, like, I think there was just radio debates were going on, his was his favorite tactic. So, and galloping was kind of a known thing because he was just trying to run along, right? Like the gallop along with his. So Gish was galloping along with his crazy derivative causation and chain. It's like specious at best.
What it is. Now, what are some examples of this? Good examples of this are when people bring up data in debates, right? I have 500 different studies which prove that smoking is bad for you. That's an easy example. How the fuck could you ever go through 500 studies in an hour and a half debate? It's not even possible, right? It's not even possible, and it's impossible for you to even attack the position of whether or not they've read all the studies or not, because you can't familiarize yourself fast enough with them in order to give an internal critique on what they've read in the data.
Right.
In politics, this is also, especially in political debates, this happens often, using what I call quote mining. Okay, I'm going to throw out 60 different quotes from different people which affirm my position. Okay, you see feminists do this a lot. Feminist leader blah 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 said this. Feminist leader blah 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 said this. Communists do this a lot in debates too. Well, this capitalist said this capitalist said that, this capitalist said this. They'll throw out 60 different quotes. Are these quotes in context? Do these quotes actually back up your claims? Do these quotes actually say what you're saying that they said? There's no possible way for you to go through the literature to determine in context what those quotes are referring to if they support your opponent's position or not. Completely fallacious argumentation, but it's effective.
Well, it's fallacious because it's in bad faith, right? They know that you're not going to go back all this stuff up at this particular moment in time. So you're going to have to go look into all that stuff, and you're probably not going to. You're just going to trust them because they got a slick presentation in PowerPoint.
It's one of the most effective fallacies that your opponent can use is to try to overwhelm you with points and data so that you can't possibly respond to any of them. You just can't do it. By the time you get through 3 of the quotes, the debate's over. They go, okay, well, I still have 60 quotes you haven't addressed. You just took a couple, you cherry picked them, right? And though it is low tier, it can be effective to the person who's watching, though it's purely fallacious argumentation. But I'm going to show you how to beat it. I'm going to tell you how to beat this fallacy, right? And it's a lot of fun to do. When somebody says to you, I have 500 different studies which show X, pull up just one of them, one of the studies, go to whatever line you want and say, can you tell me what it says on line 14? And they'll say, well, yeah, I'll pull it up. You say, well, what do you need to pull it up for? Do you have all of these studies memorized? Do you know everything that's in them? You don't, right? Why should I assume that you've read all of these studies? Now, that in and of itself is actually fallacious argumentation back the other way.
Yeah.
But that's okay. If they're using a fallacy against you like that for the purpose of optics, if you use one back against them for the purpose of optics, who cares? And then you can point out to them. If they say, wait, that's fallacious, you can say, okay, but so is the Gish Gallop. So can we have the actual debate now? It's very effective to disarm them. Very effective to disarm them.
Yeah. So that's a good one right there. That will save you time and energy in the future. So it's Debate University. I don't have any affiliate links. I don't get any money from this. But you can go check it out if you want. I thought it was extremely worthwhile. And I'm out of here.